Well, hello there, my brothers and sisters. It's Josh Packard. Welcome to another episode of The Golden Image of Churchianity is a Lie. Thank you for joining me today. If this is your first time, welcome. My brethren, I am so encouraged by what I'm experiencing everywhere. I mean, one after the other, people are hearing the word. I mean, everywhere I go, everywhere I talk to, everyone is hearing it. The most effective teaching that I've been able to use so far is just to compare everything to what God said, to prove to everyone that God said this. He said from the foundation of the world. Then he testified and manifested it 2,000 years ago at the cross. But the word has always been the same, and it will never change. And once I can show people, and because they don't know where I'm coming from, they don't know I'm attacking, if I'm attacking their doctrines, they don't know anything. I'm just telling them news, and it has been just so effective, just telling them the news. And then what I do is I establish them and show them what God said, and then I start leading them into anything that is contrary to what God said is therefore a lie, right? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And you start walking through the whole step of, well, the church tells you you have to believe to give you what God said. Did God say it, or did your belief? What made the difference? If you believed or didn't believe, what would change anything? It doesn't change what God said. Whether you're a Mormon, a Buddhist, anything, no matter what, even if you don't know it, what God said is what he said. So then it applies to everyone and everything, the same thing God said. So anything that has been misapplied is a lie. So we can clearly see all religions are a lie. Every doctrine is a lie. All of Christianity is a lie. Everything's a lie when shown the light against what God said. This has been it's been so effective because it shuts every argument down just like that. People will be, well, what about, okay, well, we've established what God said. Now, if what you see this doctrine to mean is something against what he said, then you know your understanding is wrong, right? And just start breaking it down. It's so easy to absolutely just dismantle any argument. It's unreal. And they're like, well, and it's like, well, then they always want to break down. Do you believe in the Trinity? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, well, if I do or don't, it still doesn't change what God said. Everything is to him. Everything. You know what I mean? And so, and then we were just talking last night, but if God wanted everything to be clear, if there's things that were so important that he wanted you to know, then we'd all be agreeing on, we'd all know the Trinity or whatever, we'd all agree on the same thing because God thought it pertinent that we ought to know these things, right? But as it stands, he doesn't care about that. Something is more preeminent than our doctrines and what we're concerned with, and it's his word. Everything is him, what he said. It has just been phenomenal. And the more you break it down and you think about it mentally, there is no argument against that, and you can easily say what God said, because anything that they say against what God said would be an absolute blasphemy against the cross. I mean, absolute blasphemy. And so when you show everything in the light of what God said and then compare, well, does this doctrine say what God said, or is it contradicting what God said? And it's easy to just dismantle all the religious ideas right in front of them because there's no arguing it. When you just become subject to what God said, there's nothing else there. So I know I keep beating the dead dog, but I just want to let you know that this has just been massive. I mean, whether or not people receive it, fully and genuinely, that's not up to us. But as far as anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, we can just go, hack, done, easy. It's just been like, there's, no matter what you do, all you go is, well, what did God say? And that's your response to everything is, what did God say? Does that match what God says? And it's just, there's no argument. It's so fun. It's just like, man. So everything is subject to that what God said, and that's what everything hinges on, is where everything acknowledges what God said. That's it. Nothing else. No addition to that. No other doctrine. No other anything. Everything's just whittled down to what God said. Period. Big fat period. So anyway, and as this concept of death and life and trying to enlarge it more, and so we can see it clearer and clearer. It's all going to be flowing from that position of what God said. So we're constantly keeping our eyes on what He said, our spiritual eyes. You literally can't sit there and go look at the same direction all day, but it's like you're set and confident. It's like you have a compass, and all it does is points there all the time. No matter which way you turn, no matter which way you go, upside down, anything. Because like in my airplane, I used to have it's a floating compass. So no matter what, if you're upside down, it's still point north. You know what I mean? And that's what we're using. He's our magnetic north. No matter which way we go, our compass always faces him. And that's where the growth comes. That's where the transformation in life comes from. That's where everything comes from. So, and you like the idea that Christ is the morning star, but then he becomes the full blazing sun. It's like think of it in the night, and there's only one place to look. It's that morning star. That's all you're doing. It's the horizon. I just want to. I know I can get a little wordy on this, but it's so incredibly simple, you guys. I mean moronically simple. Just to illustrate how thoroughly deceived we are, and how thoroughly hypocritical, prideful, arrogant, how completely unjustly we think we know anything, that we can believe or accept or repent at anything in for God. Anything that we can even apply ourselves by our own intellect to his eternal plan, when we're just nothing but we've only been born for a second not even a second in the grand scheme of everything. It's like, anyway, we have to be so subject to God, and then the only way we can have knowledge of anything is to have his Spirit quicken us. So we receive his life, quality of life, his wisdom, his knowledge. We receive everything through him in that fellowship that we share with him by having our eyes fixed on him. And I'm talking about your spiritual eyes. I want you to, you're not literally going, oh, there he is all day long. It's just you're automatically like a compass. That's a really great analogy. It's the compass. It's just you're always pointing north. That's where your spiritual eyes are always pointing to the same place all the time. Whether you're doing great, or whether you're screwing up, or whether you're going right or left, whether you're doing what you love, what you hate, you're working in your day, everything is just boop. You're like a compass, always pointing to true north, always. And that's in your teaching, in your way of life, and in your interaction between anyone. That will become evident that you're always just pointing north. There's no other direction to be pointing, right? So that we live and work and have our being, anything that we do for God or through God or anything, all is dictated through where we are pointing, right? So just keep that in mind, and then to see that we are pointing at in our pointing, that's where the life comes from. To where Satan, he has, like, say if there was a compass wheel, Satan's having everybody looking in every different direction, and nobody knows, well, which way is really north? It's like a cloudy day, there's no sun out, it's, you know what I mean, you can't find it. And for us, we're just like locked on, like heat-seeking missiles to true north, So, anyway, sorry. And as I've been considering and considering on pondering on this stuff, and certain passages keep popping up. And what we're going to go over today is Lazarus. It was the difference between what Jesus says to Mary and Martha and Lazarus. Just for me, it's like everything just it's becoming so clear as it's just like this. As I see the importance to the fixation of that true north, and the transference of life, and to be grown to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, so that we can bring about God's kingdom on this earth, that we can change the color guard, that we can announce his arrival, that we can say the King is reigning. It's like everything's been transitioned to now. It's all being done under the radar. Nobody would notice it because nobody knows where the kingdom is. Nobody understands what's going on except for us. Everybody's still looking carnally for the Antichrist who's been here for 1,500 years. They're looking for the building of the new temple, which we are that new temple. They're waiting for the coming of Christ, and Christ is coming us. I mean, it's like everything is to them is carnal, and everything to us is spiritual, because there's the changing of the guard. To them, they're dead spiritually, so their works are dead, their religions are dead, everything's dead, and all gendering unto death in the grave. That's all they do. And so now we are the living ones, and now we're ushering in the new kingdom, and we're think about, like, because it's like that compass. That's just a great analogy. It's whenever everybody's north was pointing to Satan before, and now in acknowledging his accusation, his carnal observances, his seminaries, his pastors, his elders, his priests, his imams, his rabbis, everything, we've been just totally subject to his system and rule. Well, now that we went what and woke up and we turned and our compass went boink, we it's like we just did a 180 boink. And so everything is just all subject to Christ now. And it can't be any other way, because the truth is what keeps us glued there. We've gone, oh, this is how Satan has been manipulating us through the lie. And so the lie has been keeping us in death and captive to the grave. So then the truth just undoes everything that Satan did. And so it's literally just the truth doing the work in us to manifest God's kingdom on the earth, and glory, and the overcoming, and everything just bam, 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 all falls right in line. It's like, when you look at like the seven seals, right? And then in the seventh seal, there are the seven trumpets, and in the seventh trumpet is the seven vials. Well, everything happens in the seventh seal. It's just like, bam, 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 bam. Like it's like, everything's plodding on through the centuries, the dispensations, but once you hit the seventh seal, it's like everything just aligns. And that's what this has happened. I think now we can see this absolute. It's like a laser point to where we need to be looking in order for this to come about. We're now established. We've overcome all the doctrines. We've overcome all the different denominations. We've overcome all the different religions. We've overcome the world. We've overcome everything. And the fact that we literally are the compass pointing to true north. That's all we are. We are actually the compass. That's even a better analogy. This is being broadcast to me as we speak right now. So anyway, let's get into Lazarus, and we'll talk about Mary and Martha, and let's see with these eyes, and keeping that mind where we're set, and that Christ is the way, he's the truth, he's the life, and it's practical. It's not like he did these things and then we just magically have them. He's literally showing us how to do everything he did on the same ground, and it will, again, magically, it's going to be, yeah, you guessed it, pointing right at God. It's just you're locked in on him and acknowledging him in everything. And that's what we do now. We've all just woken up to it. Let me know if you guys are feeling the same way, if you see what I'm seeing and how this operates and how it's irrevocable. It can't be done. It's incontrovertible. You can't unsee it. It's just like, anyway, it's amazing to me. I don't understand. You guys, I'm more blown away than I've ever been blown away, and God has blown me away. I am blown away way more. And then what's bringing about is that expectation where God is going to do in us above or beyond what we could ever hope or think. You guys got to realize that through this obtaining of this life and us knowing the way, being Christ, and us exercising it, we become experts in life now, and this is why everything will come and bow before our feet. Not for the purpose of our goodness, but they're going to come worship before us because we're going to be able to show them, this is how you do, this is what Christ did. This is how he showed us how to do it, and here's how to do it. We're literally just going to minister that life to them. It's just the angels, the fallen angels, everything, who are stronger and mightier than all of us, which through this knowledge, actually, we're going to be stronger than anyway. But we'll have more power because we're able to use the eternal power of God. Everyone, like we talk about, everyone looks at all like the Marvel superheroes, and the most powerful one is the one who's the most destructive. Which one can be more destroying than the next? Well, the ultimate superpower is creation and resurrection, because you just can never beat Jesus. He'll just keep getting up. There's nothing you can do, no matter how awesome you are, no powerful, however destructive you are, and he'll just fix whatever you destroy. He'll bring order out of the disorder that you cause. That is the ultimate. There is nothing more powerful than the power of creation, and that power is in us. It's just but love is like Liam's always saying, it's love. Love is the key. His love, not our sentimental, sanctimonious love that we know, but the actual his love is the key. When we assent unto it fully and worship him fully, then it's like we unlock that power and we're able to use it. Not only to bring us back into resurrection and those whom we love, but also God is using us to restore life to here. We are literally the power grid. We are the overspreading life. We are the bringers of life to the earth, the bringers of the resurrection. It is Christ in us, but we are the vehicle by which God is using to spread this around. He is using us to bring everything into resurrection, you guys. He is not over here going, snap and it's all going to go into resurrection. No, we are co-laboring with God into bringing this about. We aren't just idle, passive viewers of this. We are actually the hands that are doing it, you guys. And it's all on the same ground. It's like God is. Who would have ever thought this? I mean, because we're so. On the one side, sin has dominion over us, and we're so deceived. But on the other hand, we look at ourselves as just so small, and it's like we could never conceive of the grandeur of that we are literally royalty. Literally, we are literally priests and kings. We're not just just these vessels that are, that we're just one in a million. We're just we're just like one grain of sand in there, in the beaches of the world. You're not. You're actually unique. You are for the purpose of the restoration of God's kingdom. You're here to usher him in, to bring about the reestablishment of life and the reconciliation of all things, which he is going to accomplish through us. I mean, this is just like unreal what God's doing, and the actual massive giant balls that he has that would say that he would go, yep, I'm betting on these people right here. I'm betting they're going to overcome everything that Satan does, and on top of that, they're going to repair and reconcile everything he destroyed, including him. I mean, would you imagine that in a bagazillion years? I mean, this is what he's doing, it's like, how do you even, and if that's what we can even conceive of, and it's like he's going to surpass that. And you're looking at the angels are going to come before our feet. They're going to be judged of us because we are going to be the life experts. All nations will come before our feet. It's not because we're amazing, but because we have seen the way. We know the way, the truth, and the life. He is manifesting in us and from us and through us and between us. So we're able to go, hey, this is how you do it. No big deal. Here you go. It's just like, it's unreal, you guys. This is just unreal what God is doing, and it's like the implications just keep enlarging in my mind. It's just massive. But anyway, I know anyone probably listening that doesn't know what we know just think I'm just a crackpot. And I know how ridiculous it sounds, you guys, but it is. I mean, the truth is stranger than the fiction. It is. The truth is more. It's more amazing, more grand, more majestic. I mean, we just love that word, majesty. But it's like, it's way more. The authority you're being given is like you wouldn't even understand it. And it's merely because you're operating from the ground that you want to serve God fully. But now you're given what is necessary to accomplish what you will. Because you were made to love him and serve him and to love each other. And we were made for this very purpose. And without this purpose, we would be empty and we wouldn't be fulfilled because we were made for this. And so we're just, when we exercise the will of God, it's like you want to serve him with all your heart, but the only thing that kept you from serving him with all your heart is you weren't looking in the right direction. Now that you're looking in the right direction, now that you've relinked unto God and you've reconciled to him, reconnected, now you're able to exercise his will, his authority, his power. Everything that he created you to be will spring from this point. And we're literally, you can see it now. Boink! I know all of you can see it now. You can see that he is the only way, the truth, and the life. That everything pales in comparison to him. You've seen what he said stands and nothing else matters. It's like so funny because whether you're, Unitarian, Trinitarian, or whatever, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all because it wouldn't change what he said. It doesn't matter. All the religions, they don't matter. No matter what, whether they're right or wrong. It doesn't matter. What matters is God's word. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. We've just been tricked to thinking they matter. I mean, it's so mind-boggling, and how could we ever see this on our own? There is no way, you guys. There is no way we could come to see this. Just no way. It's like, I'm telling you, I am more blown away right now than I've ever been. It is, anyway, let's just get into the scriptures. I'm sorry, I've been alluding like I was going to, and I just didn't do it, but I'm sorry, I'm just so excited about that. I mean, the implications are enlarging in me so much. The what ifs and the possibilities as you keep seeing what the Bible has said, and you start seeing these obscure verses where we will be one with Christ, that he'll be one with us, so that the Father is in him and he's in us, and it's like everything's in us, that we are one with the Father. Then we start seeing these little that the angels will come and worship before our feet. All nations will come and worship before your feet. And it's like they're going to know that God loved you, that they're going to come and yield up everything and come before you to hear the truth and understand and know these things. And you start seeing all these little obscure little things here and there, but then you start looking at the combined total of all those things. Well, what would you have to be? You would have to be a king priest. You are literally a king priest. It's in God's kingdom, you are a king and a priest. It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, because I'm like you, I don't even know why God would pick me. I wouldn't pick me. I mean, if I'm using my natural thinking, I wouldn't pick me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. And I know you guys feel that same way. But that's what you see is nothing. God sees something else. Okay. Now, are there not 12 hours in the day? Okay. Anyway, Jesus, at the beginning of this, he says they're going to go back into Judea. But let's just start in chapter 11:1. I want to get fully in context with this. We just have the time. Let's just do it. Now a certain man was sick named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with an ointment, and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, him who thou love is sick. You know, I've been watching The Chosen. They did a really good job showing a relationship between Lazarus and Jesus. It's really it's pretty cool the way they came up with that. But when Jesus heard that, he said, this sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God. And again, whenever we see this, but for the glory of God, it's literally, the glory of God is like the bright morning star. So you will turn and look. It's everything is so you'll be able to find him, identify him, and know him. It's all him. It's literally that glory is illusion to light into the darkness. That it's the direction you can look. Right? That the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. And when he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Then after that he said to his disciples, Let us go into Judea again. His disciples said unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone you, and you want to go there again? And Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbles not, because he sees the light of this world. Jesus, and because we are in the light of Jesus, so we're in the day. The day reveals everything, right? Everyone else is walking in the darkness right now. It's every time I see glory now, it's all about light versus darkness, life versus death. It's like literally everything that God is doing is to get us to the place to where it's like we know right where to look. Okay? And he says, But if a man walk in the night, he stumbles, because there is no light in him. And we are walking in the day, you guys. So when it says that so that we walk or in the coming of the day of Christ, or the day of the Lord, or whatever else, it's not talking about this day to come. It's talking about being in the day versus the night, the truth versus the lie, life versus death. Okay. Literally, we're walking in the day, not the night. These things said he, and after that he said unto them, Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may wake him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. Howbeit Jesus spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking a rest in his sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. I mean, could you imagine that anticipation? Like, what are we still doing? He's dead, right? Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto the fellow disciples, Let us go also, that we may die with him. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave for 4 days already. Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs off. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary sat still in the house. Now, Martha, it's like she knows intellectually, but it's like she doesn't know in her heart. She doesn't know spiritually. And that's where we see a lot of people at right now, where they agree to a lot intellectually, but in their hearts they don't. It's like it doesn't kick in. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those. Trust me, it happens. But she said, but Martha, she said, but she was coming, she went and met him immediately. But Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother had not died. But I know even now that whatever so you will ask of God, God will give it to you. So there's a separation there. She's saying that, like, basically that he is something separate from God, right? So that if he asks God, then God will give him the life, and then he'll give him the life. Okay. And Jesus said unto her, Your brother shall rise again. Martha said unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Now this is really cool right here. Because she's not realizing that right before her stands the resurrection. Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. So this is really, really interesting here. Because anyone who says that Jesus isn't God, it's like you guys just don't get it. You don't get it. You it's like how could you separate? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Christ is the life. He is the resurrection. There's no need to go to another. He doesn't have to go to his Father. It's instant access. He's one with the Father. Okay? He is the resurrection and the life. And whosoever lives and believe in me shall never die. Believe you this? He asked her, does she believe this? So we're in the dispensation where this is becoming the reality. That the one that lives in you, the way, the truth, and life, and the resurrection is in you. He is in you for the purpose of the reconciliation and resurrection of all things. He was the prototype. We are the copy, but we're not a degraded copy. We're an exact copy. We're a perfect replica. A perfect replica, first of all, container, but also we're the perfect replica to where we actually are the conduits of God's life, His resurrection, everything that He's bringing to this earth, and the reconciliation of everything will be brought through people. It's just a man. You know how weak we are apart from God, but we don't know as how strong we are with God, because nobody's known that yet. Nobody's experienced that yet. I mean, we see glimpses of these these things that have been accomplished by faith throughout time, but they're going to be very, very minuscule compared to what's coming. I mean, I can't even begin to explain the implications that are just, my spirit is popping. It's like what's coming next is going to be so mind-blowing. We're in the generation of just getting, it seems like every minute we're just going to keep getting blown away. It's like we're just going to be like this, where just you have a fire hose just blasting in your face. It's not like, anyway, what's going to happen is we have not even conceived of, we've been so busy worrying about just getting to heaven or figuring all this stuff out that we haven't even looked yet as to what He's got planned. She said, anyway, but whoever lives and believes in me. So this, let's go back through this, because I want you to understand, we were dead. We're breathing, walking, but we are the dead on our way to under the grave. We were the dead and dying, is what we were before. But now we're the alive and living, you guys. It's just, that's what we are. We are alive and living. It's going to be like, I mean, most of us, while we were dead and dead and dying, the expectation was that we were going to die and then go to heaven, right? That's what everyone thinks. But our expectation now is just to live on unto heaven. Our idea of it, I don't believe in the idea of heaven that we have is incorrect. It's just going on to eternal life. That's all it is. It's just living, eternally living. And I'm not talking about like living as far as being animated, but to have living, like actually the quality of God's life, living. All we've ever known is death and dying. We haven't known living yet. And this is what we got to figure out. This is what's coming. We are going to know what it means to be living ones. We've stepped into living, but now it's like, what is a living one? How is your normal day-to-day life as a living one different than your life as a dying one? You see, we were just full of good intentions and all these other things, but life is relative. We were relatively happy, but that's because all we knew was death and dying. But now we're in the place of life and living, and it's like, what the hell is this? This life and living is awesome. The full expectation of hope. We're not expecting to die anymore. We're not expecting the things that we did under the former understanding. We don't have that anymore. We have passed from death into life. Our expectation is to live, not die. And you have to live to go to heaven. I'm just, in our ideas and conceptions of heaven, it's you have to live to go on to heaven. If you die, you go to the grave. But Christ is the life, and the very life that he is in us. We maintain and foster and culture that life by merely, and abiding in him is merely by looking in the right place, at him. That we see that what he said stands keeps us locked onto him. Like a compass, whatever direction we go and turn, like an aviation compass where you can go upside down and it'll still be pointing that direction. Whether you're doing good things, bad things, right things, wrong things, whether you're believing or not believing, whether you're a Mormon, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're, you wouldn't be, but you wouldn't be even ascribing to those things. But just as an intellectual argument, no matter which direction you'd go, your spiritual eyes are always locked on him. And that's where the transference of life is, and why it's happening, why we are experiencing it now, why we are the man-child, why we have overcome. We are moving on to God's purpose. Actively and practically. We're not just little bystanders going and cheering on. We're actually on the field of play. We are the first stringers. We are on the field right now. And we're kicking ass. Because it's just literally, we don't realize how powerful we are because of what we know, of who we know, of his life is in you, and you don't. It's like we're just so simple, we don't realize that we're just walking around like baby Hueys. Oh, nobody wants to play with me. You know what I mean? Because you're just way stronger than you even understand. Anyway. Dude, Satan's shitting his pants because he doesn't understand what's happening. Look around the world right now. He is shitting his pants. Stuff is happening, you guys. So, anyway, let's keep going through this. So it says, and whoever lives... Okay, let's go back just a minute. He says, Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. So this is the living, the actual quality of living versus dead and dying. This is living unto life, alive and living. That's what we'll just say. You are now alive and living. Is that the good? Do you think that's a good way of saying it? So those, and then he says, whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Okay, this has been reserved for this time. We can look and we know that nobody has received this yet because everybody died. First off, your only hope of living, being alive and living, is this, right? But we can see now, this is the way. Christ is the way. He is the truth. He is the resurrection. We see everything. Our eyes are fully locked on him. Our spiritual eyes are looking no otherwhere else. Not for our righteousness, not for our justification, glorification, sanctification, resurrection. We're not looking any other place but him right now. And this is the time that's been prophesied that this stuff would happen, is when we would come to this knowledge. It's just funny because you'll have all these New Agers and all these other people talking about how they're going to get to their higher enlightenment and all these other things, that we're going to go to a higher state of consciousness. And it's like, well, you're kind of right. Not you, but because Christ is that higher state of consciousness. He is. Anyway, New Age. Anyway, it's just so funny because I have some family members who are New Agey and like teach other people and do this stuff, and you're just going. And as they always ask me like, well, how did you get enlightened? And they're like, because they went to they chant and do all their mantras and stuff like that. I go, well, because God told me he loved me. And they're like, oh. So when they say that they think their higher power is the same as mine, and I'm going, no, Yours is by your efforts. All you're doing is you're faking it to yourself, lying to yourself that you have peace. You don't. I can see it. Because when you see people that can't hold down relationships, when they can't fellowship with other people, where they're woke, they can't, you know what I mean? They're super inclusive to all nasty things. I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm going to go and cast people out. I'll tell them, because their only healing is to know the life, which is Christ. So I'm not going to condemn them, but that would never come from somebody who is living, right? All that stuff, it would not come from a living person. Only those who are dead and dying. So, anyway. So, and I'm not, again, don't, what I just said right now, don't go, oh, well, I'm still doing things that are, and it's like, no, don't worry. Everyone's fucking up. It's not that. It's just, we're not looking for our evidences there. We're looking at our evidences of what he said. Only keep focused on what he said. Don't look at yourself and say, well, I'm doing things that only a dead person would do. And then you're going to, anyway, that's how Satan operates. Don't get caught up there. Trust me. Look to what God said continually and apply it to yourself. Because whether or not, according to the carnal conception, it is true or not true is not in bearing. Okay? But where people start pointing to those things, they're pointing away from God. That's all I'm trying to illustrate. Don't get caught up. Okay? I had to clarify that because last night we were having a really great conversation, and it's like it's just like it's like his, first of all, his sin, his Satan's accusation, and what he'd been told kept coming back up. And so when he would see something, all I'd have to do is, well, you're looking at it, look at it from this way, and then he goes, oh yeah, it's right, that's what God said, yeah. And it's like you're always constantly flipping that, and so it's really important that people go, there's no dichotomy. No matter what you are, if you don't like it, then the only cure is to look at God. That's just the way it is. But I can tell when people are looking at God or not looking at God by what they glorify. That's all I'm trying to get at. Okay. So, and whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Believe thou this. And this, he's making a distinction. Whosoever lives and believes in me. So it's not just the believing that is the action, it's the actual living is what this is the distinction. Okay? The living ones are the proof of what Christ has done and the overcoming of Christ. We are the living ones. The living ones are the ones that will bring everything to bow before God. We are the living ones, you guys. It's just the way it is. Now she said unto him, Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And when she had so said, she went her way and called Mary her sister secretly, saying, The Master has come and calls for you. And as soon as she heard that, she rose quickly and came unto him. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha had met him. The Jews then, which were with her in the house, and comforted her, when they saw Mary, that she rose up hastily and went out following her, saying, She goes unto the grave to weep there. And it's really interesting because there's a whole new thing that nobody followed Martha, I'm sorry, but everybody got up with Mary. Really strange. But it's like, so she waited until she was called. So she was already patient and waiting for the Lord. She knows something a little bit more than what. So she's just waiting on his timing. It's not, she doesn't believe that she already understands his power. She already understands like what he's done and what he's said. She knows he's the fulfillment of it. There's no haste in it. But she waited till he called her because she's letting him dictate to her, not the other way around. She's not putting the cart in front of the horse. She's allowing his timing to be manifest, right? Now, when Mary was come to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying, Lord, if you had been here, my brother had not died. And when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping came with her, he groaned in his spirit and was troubled. So he didn't say the same thing to her that he said to Martha, because she was coming on a different ground. She wasn't thinking that he was, that he was just this uh, mediator between God and you. I mean, that he'd go speak to God on your behalf. She already knew he had the power. Where Martha didn't know that he had the power. And I know it's just showing a distinction, but it's really interesting the way that the two were dealt with each other. And then the one had fellowship with Jesus. Because you can see when Martha came, he didn't weep. He didn't have any, there was nothing, there was no movement there. There wasn't that same closeness. But with Mary, because of the ground she came in, there was this closeness and the weeping and this interaction of emotion that you didn't see with Martha. This is a big deal. And he said, and it says, and when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping with her, they came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. And he said, where have you laid him? And they said unto him, Lord, come and see. And Jesus wept. So, and they say this is like the shortest verse, and it shows that he was fully man and this and that. But what I see now is the fact that he and Mary were in fellowship, where him and Martha were not. To where what Martha was feeling, what Mary was feeling, Jesus was feeling. And vice versa. To whereas in Martha there was no genuine interaction. It's internally, spiritually, you know what I mean? And this always reminds me back to where I was always lonely. And I was always alone. I could never be with anyone. I always felt like no one ever knew me. Nobody ever understood me. Nobody ever. And then you realize, well, because I was presenting myself in the way that I wanted to be seen. I presented myself in a way that I wanted people to see me as rather than what I was. And so that I never let anyone get to know me. I never let anyone know what truly mattered to me, or what truly, what piqued my mind or touched my heart. I never let anyone know that. Not until I was able to understand that man was the false man that I was doing in order to protect myself was what was killing me. And all my efforts of protecting myself kept me separated from God, from other people, isolated and alone. And that's why I know the works of Satan and the religion. And so that people that don't see, and I don't want to get into this, but when people don't see that Jesus is God, it's like they don't understand. He is the resurrection. He is the life. He is inseparable from God. And so they have the idea like Martha, where they agree doctrinally, they understand this stuff, but they don't understand him. Whereas we see Mary, and she's in the place of fellowship with God. And earlier when it says that she sat at his feet and all this other stuff where Martha was so busy working, this is all building up, kind of showing this, right? So, anyway, it says, and when then said the Jews, after Jesus wept, then said, behold, said the Jews, behold how he loved him. Well, with Martha, you didn't see that. So this expression that Jesus was manifesting as the result of his being touched, that he was known, and that he knew her. It's this fellowship of life which is causing the reaction that we see here. So, and some of them said, could not this man which opened the eyes of the blind and could have caused that even this man should have not died? Jesus therefore, again groaning in himself, comes to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. And Jesus said, take away the stone. And here comes Martha again. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Lord, by this time he stinks, for he has been dead 4 days. So she still didn't understand. He is the resurrection. He is the life. She doesn't understand that. She still doesn't get it. She doctrinally might get it, might understand it doctrinally, but she doesn't see him. She knows all about him, but she doesn't know him. And this is where we live, is because we know him who loved us, that we are known as he knows, so we know him as we are known of him. This is what's going on. This is why I can tell you right now, we have transferred from death into life, that we are literally alive and living now, guys. We are no longer dead and dying. We are alive and living. Okay, and Jesus said to her, said I not unto you that if you would believe, you should see the glory of God? Well, we can see this in twofold. First off, we can see the glory of God in the fact that Lazarus will be resurrected, but also that he is the glory of God. She could see the glory of God. You know what I mean? Because she's looking right at the glory of God and not perceiving it. Or we perceive that Jesus is the glory of God. Now, when they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I knew that you hear me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that you have sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. And Jesus said unto him, loose him and let him go. Okay, this is really crazy. So we have the two sides. We have the Christ is the glory of God, but then he is the life, which that transference of that life to man that was dead, taking them from dead and dying to alive and living. This is the I mean, I don't know how to say the complex glory of it, maybe, or the manifold glory of God, to where we see that it's not just one aspect. It's like a fractal of aspects. It's like there's aspects inside of the aspects, like the wheel inside the wheel, and it's all for the purpose of going from God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, to the body, to where God is quadune, to where we are the fourth part of God. We are the expression of God. This is what this is all about, you guys. But it's the glory of God is that he takes the dead ones and makes them alive. Crazy. So Jesus is simultaneously the glory of God that performs the glory of God, that we would perform the glory of God. It's just like this. It's just all I can see is like a power grid. It's literally like the transference of life, and it's just the spreading of life to the overspreading of the world and all of creation. That's all this is happening. That God is it's like he's standing outside going, how can I best show everything my glory? He says, let's take the most corrupted thing, make it absolutely perfect and obedient unto me, and to be able to wield my power in order to make the thing that corrupted it subject back to me. Sounds like a good idea. Bam. Anyway, it's just amazing. But long time ago, my buddy Michael, we were looking at this, and as he's sitting there, and he comes to me, he says, "Josh," and this is a long time ago, and he goes, I just saw something. He says, when he said, because you see in the garden, whenever Jesus' tomb, you see the grave clothes are wadded in a pile, but the napkins all folded up neatly, and it really makes a point to tell you that, right? Well, and you're like, why is that so significant? Well, and my buddy goes, well, he says, you know what? If you had burial cloths, if covering your eyes, right? If your hands were loose, what would be the very first thing you'd do? He's all, you just take it off. And I'm like, that's amazing. It's like, you know what I mean? Back in the day, you're just like, we're like, yeah, woo, just all excited because that was just like mind blowing back then. You know what I mean? the very first thing you do would just be, as soon as your hands are feet, you just go, ah, you would be able to see, right? And that's literally what God has done to us, is that, but by Christ's death, burial, and resurrection, that he has taken our bounds off. So that the very first thing we'll do is go, boop, and then fold it up neatly and lay it aside, right? It's like it's like son of a bitch. And this is like, and that is more true today than it was even then. You know what I mean? It's just funny, you guys. Because anyway, it's just, what he's doing is like, it's crazy. God is crazy. That's all the way to say it. He's absolutely nuts. He's nuts. I mean, if he didn't actually have the cheat code being that Christ crucified from the foundation of the world, and that Christ is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, that he is all powerful and all knowing and all present, and that, I mean, if he didn't have all those things, he'd be nuts, because what he's doing is nuts. I mean, nuts. And that we are the recipients of his love, his grace, mercy, and power. Not just, we're not just bystanders over here being passively led through like on a little rope. He's not. He's teaching us how to do our Father's business. That's what he's doing. He's giving us his trade. He's showing us how to do what he does. This, so that we can replicate it. So we can pass it on to our children and to their children. And it's like he's just showing us how to be experts at living, being alive and living. That's what we're doing. That's why everything will come before us. Everything will come and witness that God loved us. Everything will come this way. We are literally, this is why you, Liam, Patrick, Rob, all the Robs and all the, everybody, Patrick's, Kelly, Kim, everybody, you guys, Eon, Monk, I don't know you, but I see you all the time on there. I need to get you on a video sometime, and so we get to see your face and know you. We still need to get Rob, Alchemy Rob. We need to get you on a video some point and see who you are. We're getting all kinds of. You're being enigmatic. We just want to know you, but and whatever. If you guys want to or not, it's up to you. But what God is doing with you is beyond your imagination. Beyond what you can ever hope, think, or even imagine. You are a king priest. You guys are king priests. God is using you to manifest him on the earth and to bring his resurrection into existence here. You are for this purpose, you guys. This is you, and you. Right now, you are on the field. You're in play right now. There is no. This is the battle. We're in the war right now. We're in there playing. I don't know how to explain it other than that we are engaged right now. We didn't even know we were, because we're walking around like little baby Hueys, and God is just imbuing his power into us, and we don't even realize it. And so we're just like all, nobody wants to play with me. And we're just like wiping out the enemy with it, just like we're like a little baby, just going, and we just smack them, and we were doing it before just out of instinct, because we were alive and living as infants, just smacking around the devil and everybody else. We're just smacking them around. But now that we're becoming the full grown, it's like we actively now we walk in and go, oh, fix. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing, you guys. Anyway, I hope you're as excited as I am about this. And I don't know, I'm just blown away and so honored that, you guys are here. And it's too bad we can't, I know we can't see each other face to face, you know what I mean? But it's like, son of a bitch, I'd love to see you guys face to face, but we'll have time here. And if, who knows how the millennial reign is really going to act, and how we live and reign with Christ for 1,000 years, whether all the assholes are going to be gone, or whether they're still going to, who knows? You know what I mean? And, I'm saying that tongue in cheek, right? But it would be great if, anyway, we have this time that we just have with each other and with Jesus, and becoming like like being fully grown to the priests whom God has ordained us to be. Anyway, you guys, and it takes 1,000 years. You know what I mean? And think of how little we know right now, and after 1,000 years, what we would know. Anyway, it's just it's mind blowing, you guys, and I'm just so privileged that you are here, that God brought you guys to life right alongside me, that we have all been independently apart from each other, being manifested, that we are God's, that we are His kings and priests, that we are, each one of us is like all of a sudden, I mean, the ones that you guys don't realize that you were the absolute catalyst that showed me that where we're at. Liam and Patrick especially, because you guys just went to full growth. I mean, just like, bam. You just turned, looked, and went, that's it. And you guys received all authority. And as soon as I went, that's it. This is what's happening. And that showed me the sign of the times. You know, I mean, and I'm not saying because I know Rob, and I know all you guys see it as well, but these guys are out there preaching it. So I was able to see them, and I could see their growth and what they were doing, and I can like diagnose what's going on whenever I'm watching you guys through the some, you know, as I'm watching all your videos together, I can see where you're at. And so where you're at is where you're supposed to be in that authority. And you guys should not be. I mean, you don't have the, you don't have the years, and you don't have the, the education, and you don't have the, the crazy shit. You don't, I mean, we all do to a measure, but you have so much more ability and knowledge than you even should. I mean, hands down. I mean, ask any of these guys that have been around for a long time doing this, and you guys are equal to us in everything. And that's where I know that where we're at. And I know that it is you are alive and living. That we are alive and living in the fact that we are all being downloaded to God by God. We are simultaneously, each one of us, receiving from Him, and we are all like on the same page. In this absolute impossible understanding that we've been given. It is impossible for us to understand this. None of us, and I know it has never been seen till now. But then I also see that it's incontrovertible, that it's what we are seeing is right. It's like, there's nothing more of a sign of the times to me than this. And you guys were the ones that encouraged me. You were the ones that made me go, we are in that time. We are here. This is where we're at. I mean, you guys are the reason why I can see. I want to thank you for having courage. I want to thank you for not going back, not giving up, not quitting, facing all the persecution and just fuck it. You know what I mean? And that's, you know what I mean? And I know, because I have that same spirit where I'm just like, oh, what else we got to do? Fuck it, let's do it. You know what I mean? Because I'm, and I'm like you, where it's my curiosity keeps driving me. I'm like, my anticipation of what God's going to do next, it keeps growing. I keep realizing that there is so much more to what He's going to show us. That it's like, it's like anyway, you know what I mean. You guys know what I mean. I know you know what I mean. I don't want to talk your ear off, but man, I know that anyone that listens to us or anything to what we're saying right now that doesn't know our background and what we've been preaching on would just think we're absolutely mad bonkers. Anyway, you guys are the king priests. We all are. We are the vehicle by which God is going to bring restoration to the whole world and to the fallen angels and to everything. We are the vehicle by which He's doing it, you guys. You know, Nick and I used to joke about the two witnesses, and we're like, oh man, it's going to be us. And it's like, fucking A. I mean, it very well could be, you know what I mean? It could be any one of us, kind of a thing, you know what I mean? who knows, determining, because there's so many people that say, oh, those witnesses are actually like, Moses and, or whatever. Or a lot, there's a lot of speculation going on, but it could easily be any of us. Just as easily it could be them. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. We have the knowledge of Moses. We have the knowledge of Paul. We have the knowledge of John and Peter, and we have the same knowledge. We have this. We are worshiping the same God. We are looking in the same direction. We have everything they did. We are falling behind them in nothing. But we are actually in an age where God's revelation is greater than it was in theirs. Anyway, and not to say that we've surpassed them, that we can go outside the bounds of the Bible, but again, remember that the Old Testament prophets and the old believers, they didn't understand until Christ showed up. And then, so it's like what was written was adequate to the time and for their understanding at that time, but was also for a greater understanding to come later. It was like hidden to be revealed, but it's the same words, but a different application. And we're in that different dispensation. We're in that different aeon. That those same words are being used now in this dispensation for a little bit deeper purpose. And it's all to the glory and the honor of the one, the only one who matters, the highest King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Judge of Judges, the Prince of Princes. It's all to His glory and honor. Everything. We see it more now than it's ever been seen, you guys. So, anyway, I'll shut it down. It's been a little late here. So, God bless you and your families, and just, all right, God bless you guys. Later.